Hi, I'm Marianne, and I am the Managing Director for Stoppel Analytics Group, and I'm here today with
Ruthie Giles.
who is our partner for prospect management. Ruthie, what we want to talk about today is you just finished writing a book. So
Yes.
tell me three concepts that are going to come out of that book for people.
So the book is called Prospect Management, the Essential Guide. And the sort of the three main concepts that come out of that book, the three main things that come out of that book really, are that prospect management is based in for-profit management practices. So it's based firmly there. Prospect management is there to help enhance the work of the gift officer by better recording what's going on from the inception of we know who this prospect is all the way to the point of we've gotten the gift, now what do we do with this person? And making sure that those prospects move into the right places, they're stewarded properly, and that everything is donor centric. And I think
Great.
the third piece about this book that's important is that it's a guide that someone could use if they wanted to create a prospect management system in their organization or enhance one. Really, if you were starting from scratch, this book would help you through that process from soup to nuts.
So I can start at the beginning and build my prospect management program, but I can also start in the middle and figure out how to get gift officers to actually show up to meetings and cooperate with
Exactly.
me when I convince them to take new prospects.
Exactly. I have a whole section on meetings and different types of meetings and how you get those meetings to work properly so that you can get the results that you need for optimizing your data, for getting your portfolios properly aligned, and for creating strategies for your prospects.
Yeah, it's a stop pill value to try to bring a lot of, we think of it as what is liberal arts education, right? A lot of different disciplines into a discipline in order to make it fresh, new, or more cooperative. And one of the things that you bring in is you talk about the continuous quality improvement. Do you mind sharing a little bit of that content with us?
Yeah, so I talk about both lead management and total quality management, which are for-profit concepts. Lead management helps you figure out what to do with the basically managing a lead, or in our case, the prospect, when you find them, and how do you manage them through discovering who they are all the way to where they should fit into your organization. And then the total quality management aspect of that is that you're always improving the process. So even when you create your first prospect management system, it's not going to be perfect. It'll be your first draft, and there'll be things that you don't know about that you need to add later because the world changes around us. And there'll be things that you just forgot, left out, so you need to add them in later. So the nice thing is, as you're moving through the process, you can say, okay, I need to enhance here, I need to add here, we need to tighten this up, we need to have a process for this, we need coding for that, and then you can continue to add to that system over time.
And so you said right now, right? So right now we're in late spring 2025 and the economy is uncertain. The global political environment is a little uncertain. And fundraising, some grants have been cut in the United States. So fundraising is all of a sudden meeting a lot of open gaps. So is this the right time to read your book?
I think for some organizations it is, because what it can help you do is really make sure that you're reaching the right prospects all the time. A lot of times, historically, I think this happened because there used to be, we didn't have all the data that we needed to create what we wanted to know who were the right prospects were. So we just did sort of a spaghetti at the wall, if you will, method, where we just tried a whole bunch of people and hope for the best. But now we have a lot of more
Yeah.
data science, we have wealth screenings, we have prospect research. We can really hone in on who those essential prospects are. So once we hone in on who the essential prospects are, we don't have to have big portfolios. So this is a time for organizations, especially those who either don't have strong portfolios or have really large, unwieldy portfolios
Hmm.
and massive holding pools of people just waiting to get into portfolios, to really hone that in. Are these the right people? Is this the right time? And then how do I prioritize the folks within those portfolios? Top 10 people to see this week, this month, this quarter, this year.
Actually, our clients are saying to us, it's not that we don't have enough major gifts prospects, is that we're drowning in them. And we need to pick the ones that really want to talk to us right now.
Exactly.
And so you have a part of your book that talks about that?
Yeah, I talk about how you can realign the portfolio and then reorganize it, so you can really focus on who are those best prospects to start, and then how you segment them out. For certain organizations, portfolios are based on region, so you might want to say, who are my best 10 prospects in Chicago, my best 10 in Boston, my best 10 in Dallas. For people who are based more programmatically, you might want to say, who are my best 10 from a certain program or a certain your higher ed, like certain like School of Law, School of Medicine, who are the best 10 people to be working with to get the gifts that we need for our current fundraising missions.
So in a way, this book is actually not only for people whose full-time job is prospect management, but it's also for people who manage gift officers or people
Yes.
who don't have a full-time prospect management.
Yeah, unfortunately, most shops don't always have the luxury of having someone who does project management. It might be a sliver of someone's job, but it might not be the entirety of their job. So this can help both the person who is a sliver of their job and the rest of the staff they work with to really work together to create something that works for all of them and is tailored to the organization. There's no two shops that are the same. So we want to make sure that what they tailor it to, like, you can be a massive university and have lots of staff, or you can be a small, scrappy organization, very grassroots, very community-based, and there are 5 of you. And you do everything from answer people when they walk in the door, to throw the events, to this. So this book can work for both. The time frame for both organizations is a little different, because if you're a small organization, everything will take longer. But slow progress, as I always say, is still progress.
Yeah. And the notions that you talk about, where you talk about the discipline that brings over some automation work and the schedules of meetings and making things move forward and how to track things so that you don't miss out. While we're panicking about all the people we have to organize, the prospects that we have to organize, our gift officers are panicking about the one that got away, right? And so you work through how to make sure that everything, all the train is on the track.
Yeah, this ensures that it would be rare with this in place that you would have some slip through cracks.
Yeah.
And things happen. People are people. We are humans. So us as the workers, a few mistakes will happen, but
Staff
not
change.
nearly as many as before. So if you've had lots of people sliding through the cracks, this will identify them and make sure that they're moving somewhere. So they're not just sitting there languishing in a pool waiting for someday to get seen by a gift officer. We figure out how to move them faster.
That's great. The other thing I wanted to ask about, and so for the last, 6, 7, 8, 9 years, you've been teaching prospect management through associations, but also through Stop Pell. Do you think this book is going to replace that teaching, or does it enhance the teaching?
I think it's a great supplement and a great resource, especially for those who've gone through any of the trainings that I've done. I don't think it necessarily replaces it, because sometimes you need that human interaction. You need to be able to say, hey, Ruthie, here's the situation in my shop. It's really unique, really odd, or, it doesn't quite fit the mold. How would you handle it? And be able to be in a classroom with myself and others who are in a similar situation to brainstorm together and say, here's some solutions that could work for you. So you can take them back to your shop and try them out.
What is the problem that reading your book is going to solve for me?
The problem that it solves, I think, for a lot of offices is just how to manage the prospect journey. We always talk about the prospect journey from a certain aspect, but I think we forget that we really have to manage that journey for them. We have to, not that we're holding their hands through it, but we have to make sure that we are aware of where they're going and how they're getting there, and make sure that it's donor-centric the whole time. Oftentimes we lose sight because we're so focused on our fundraising goals and the things that, other dollars that we may be throwing or receptions that we have to put on. And we lose sight that these aren't just people. These are people with lives. They're multifaceted, and we need to make sure that a no when they say they don't want to give doesn't necessarily mean no forever.
Right.
Or when they say, like, we propose something to them and they seem to shriek back, we can reassess and say, okay, that tactic didn't work. Let's try something else. Or we can consult them and say, okay, that clearly wasn't the right thing for you. Let's talk more about your interest in our organization. So this helps with that.
Yeah, it's curious that because I expect Amazon.com to have a relationship with me and to remember what my preferences and to know that I like my coffee black. And then when I talk about prospects in a gift officer pool, I sort of do an inventory thing. And I forget that this person has already been seen by 5 different gift officers who all said, I'm new and I want to hear your story.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's part of the problem that we're running into.
Yeah. And also, if they are highly rated for your organization, they may well be highly rated for someone else's organization. So they're not just having these conversations with your people.
Yeah.
You're having that with multiple different organizations, perhaps. So you want to make sure that when you're having that conversation with them, you're having them connect with your organization in the way that's meaningful to them.
Right.
Because that's the most fruitful relationship, not in the way that's most meaningful to you is the
Yep.
organization. We forget it has to be meaningful to them.
Yeah, I've had some vice presidents of fundraising say, any minute a gift officer is in the office is a waste of time. Gift officers not in front of prospects is not useful time. And so when you have a good prospect management team that's well organized and is in continuous quality improvement, I think that's the piece that I really appreciate, right? We tend to set up the systems and then we sort of forget that gift officers need more prospects, or they need prospect help, or they need to shift prospects. That whole notion that, there are people who are already doing all the prep. All you got to do is, drive the car and talk to the prospect, sort of a thing. Pit crew.
Exactly.
Yeah. If I'm trying to choose between your book and another book on fundraising, what is something I need to know?
There is no other book out there at this point in time on prospect management and how to create a system. So there are books on how to fundraise, there's books on annual fund, there's books on how to set up your boards, but there's no book yet on prospect management. And this doesn't just touch it lightly. This goes in all the way and explains sometimes perhaps to ad nauseum detail, but it explains where the theories come from, because there's often times where someone will have to then sell this to their boss, the concept of let's put prospect management in place. So you really want to make sure that whoever is reading the book understands enough of the concept that when they have to go to their boss and say, let's put this in place, and this is going to be the best use of my time, and we all know time is money, that the boss can easily say yes to it.
Yeah,
So
that's actually the networking lunch conversations that we have at the FIT conference from your students is, how do I tell my boss I want to do it this way?
Exactly.
Yeah, that's great.
That's the hardest sell sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
You're to sell other things, to sell the concept of I'm going to take all of my time and invest it in creating this process and fine-tuning things that seem in the moment nitpicky, but in the long run will benefit everyone.
Yeah.
The return on investment is huge, but you have to invest, and it is a big time investment to do this.
That's great. All right. Well, thanks so much for your time today. I appreciate this chance for our audience to get to know you and to learn more about your book coming out in July.
Thank you, Mary. I appreciate it.